Hey, everybody, we're 22 seconds in, and I'm over here at my office still fiddling around with this new toy. Earlier today, I kept calling it a Roadmaster Pro. That's wrong. It's a Roadcaster Pro, not a Roadmaster Pro. I knew I was going to mess it up. Hello, everybody. Veronica, hello. Good evening. Kambole. Good evening to you. Watching from Monze, Timothy Mwale Jr. Thank you for joining us, for joining me. All right. Hey, listen, very quickly, I'm about to go home, and as many of you know, as is my custom, first of all, can you hear this? Can you hear me loud and clear? Please tell me in the comments, because I can never tell. I have these headphones on, and these are recommended for some reason or another. Hey, Ty D from Scotland. You're watching us from Scotland. That's fantastic. That's my feeble attempt at putting on a Scottish accent. Oh, there's my lovely, beautiful niece, Mwange. Hello, Mwange. Good evening, Uncle. She says to me, she always says, hi, Uncle. Hello, darling. I love you so much. And thank you for being with us, Mwange. Thank you, darling. Say hi to your mom and dad for me. All right, guys, we have to talk about this. Before I go into this little talk, I'm only going to be with you for about 25 minutes because I have to go home. I take this opportunity to talk to you because this is the time that I wait for the traffic to subside here at the office. As many of you know, I work in the Central Business District in the heart of town. Town is where it all happens. Listen, if it's not happening here, it's not happening anywhere. And so, because I work in the heart of town, traffic is an absolute nightmare. You don't need me to tell you that. If you are familiar with the CBD, the Central Business District here in the beautiful LSK, you know the type of difficulties we go through with the traffic. So what I usually do, I don't do it every single time, but most of the time, I'll do it maybe 3-4 times a week, maybe 5, sometimes 6, okay? Very rarely 7. Let's be clear about that. I stay behind until about this time so that I allow the traffic to subside. You know that word? To subside? The traffic to ameliorate. The traffic to reduce. So that there are less cars on the street as I go home. I've discovered that if you go home right on the dot at 17 hours, you're going to be sitting in traffic for 2 hours. And who wants that? Who wants the hassle and the pressure of sitting in traffic for 2 hours before you get home? You're stressed by the time you get home, for goodness sake. All right, here we go. I have something on my heart I need to share with you guys. And it's the issue of paternity tests. Okay? Let me get my nieces, because my niece is going to start to, Uncle, you kept me on there for a while. Okay, let me put here. Okay, let me do this. I should have done this earlier. Okay, there we go. Should have done it earlier. You know, me being the... All right, here we go. We're going to talk for a few minutes about DNA testing, paternity tests. Okay, now, for some of you that may ask, as I always say to you, my father many years ago used to say that before you can talk about anything or a particular subject, you must first of all define what that thing is. You can't talk about something if you don't know what it is. So let us define paternity testing. Basically, a paternity test determines whether or not a person is a parent of a certain individual. So if you go for a paternity test, let's say you're a woman and you say to a man, honey, you are the father of the child that I am carrying. And then the man turns around and says, well, let's go for a paternity test, a DNA test. What that test will determine, what the test will ascertain, is whether or not that man is indeed the biological father of the child that you are carrying. And the key word is biological father, okay? Now, I've got a story to tell you about this. This is a very, there are horror stories out there about paternity tests. I mean, devastating stories. I'm going to tell you a true story. It'll be quick. A young man gets married. He's been seeing this girl for quite some time. They finally get married. About 5 years into their marriage, a woman shows up at the door. This is a true story. With a young boy. And this woman says to this man, you are the father of this child. So naturally, the guy is sort of stressed. He's wondering, is this really my child? And so somehow this conversation found its way in the home of this guy's father, his father. So a woman comes to a man and says, you're the father of my child. The man goes to his father and takes the boy and says, a woman has come saying, this is my child. Now, this is what the father tells him. The father says to him, this boy looks exactly like you. The young man says, no, Dad, I need to go for paternity test. I need to find out for sure if this is my biological child. I need to know beyond a shadow of a doubt that I am indeed the father of this child. The guy's father, the guy's dad, says to him, that's an insult to this child. We can all see this child looks like you. This is your baby. And so upon the advice of his father, the man takes the boy in for a few years. The little boy was about 12, 13 years old. And, they're living a good life. And then one day, the little boy says to the father, Daddy, are you really my father? Because my mother used to tell me that several different men were my father. You're just one of many. Now, this was after they had lived together for a few years. And so when the father heard the son say this, he said, say that again. And the little boy repeated. He said, Dad, I just want to know for my own peace of mind. This is a 12, 13-year-old boy saying to his father, my mother used to say to me that this one was your dad. That's your dad. So I'm confused. I just want to know if you really are my father. So because the boy said that, the man finally took this boy and they went for a paternity test. And what did they discover? The boy wasn't his son. The boy wasn't his biological father. What's the moral of the story? Always go for paternity test. If especially if you've got a girlfriend that comes to you and says, you are the father of this child, the key is if you have any doubt, that should be the red flag. If for any reason you doubt that that is your child, that is when you are supposed to go for a paternity test. Did you catch that? Did you hear that? Let me say that again. It is only when you are in doubt, when you begin to ask the question, am I or am I not the biological father? When you're at that place where you are in doubt, that feeling, that sense, that sensation, that inclination, that proclivity, that prompting in your heart, in your spirit that tells you, I wonder if this is my child. That is enough for you to say, let's go for a paternity test. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with demanding a paternity test. It'll tell you in black and white. It'll get rid of all ambiguity. It'll get rid of all doubt. And you will know beyond a shadow of a doubt that that child is indeed yours. Now, of course, once you discover that, then you have to do the manly thing. Man up, take care of the baby, take care of the child. Okay? All right. Now, I want to read, because I'm not going to stay with you too long. Somebody here says, Mr. Morris, the cost of the test is the biggest hindrance. Really? How much is it? I mean, honestly, how much could a paternity test cost? Come on, guys. Okay. All right, let's read this one. Winnie says, I believe the healthcare system should make it mandatory to do DNA tests when the baby's born, regardless of being married or girlfriend. Hear, hear. Listen, if I had a bottle of vodka, I would drink to that. I would. Okay, guys, give me a call on, because you know we're uppity now. We're moving on up to the east side, to a deluxe apartment in the sky. Oh, we're moving on up. We've moved on up here at SML TV. You can actually call me now. Here, let me show you. I'm going to break it down for you. Call me on that number and tell me what you think. If you're a man and your girlfriend walks up to you and says, you're the father of my child, would you insist on a DNA test? Tell me in the comments and call me if you'd like. Call me on that number and give me your opinion on this all-encompassing, all-elusive question. Kaniyama paternity tests. I know it's a very controversial issue, but it's a conversation that needs to be had. Let's put it that way. It's a very important conversation. You remember years ago, one of the most famous paternity test cases was when Scary Spice insisted that the baby of her father was Eddie Murphy. You remember this? It was all over the news. And Eddie Murphy denied up and down, left, right, and center that was his child. He basically said, no, Scary Spice, that can't be my baby. I don't know how many other men you've been with. I'm not the only one that you've been with. That was Eddie Murphy's position. And it broke Scary Spice's heart. Now, correct me in the comments below if indeed that was Scary Spice, because I mix up the Spice Girls. There's Ginger Spice, Scary Spice, something Spice. They're all
process of doing the same, going for the DNA test,
Mm.
and we find out whether that child is mine or not. But the most surprising thing is, um, from the time I was told that you are the one, I've never had any attachment, not even a single feeling about that same child.
Sorry,
So
so say that again. You saying
I've
you've never felt connected to that child?
I've never felt connected, not even a single feeling that that child is mine.
But but
I've
but
never.
but that's not the point. Whether or not you feel a connection, I think
Yes,
in your case, I think it's important to make sure that you go for the test to make sure to rule out any doubt if whether or not that's your child.
yes. Of course, that's not a point, but I decided also to take another step forward to clear my doubts about that issue. Otherwise,
How did you do
um,
that? How did you do that? How did you clear your fears? What did you have you
I
been
have,
for a test? First of all, can you tell us, have you been for the paternity? Have you gone for the paternity test?
no, I haven't.
Why?
I
Why not?
haven't. I haven't because I'm still gathering resources for me to go and do the test.
Okay. But here's
But
the
I'm in the
question.
process.
Here's the question.
Yes,
Are you willing to go for a paternity test?
definitely,
That's good. That's good, brother.
definitely, I am
Wonderful. Thank you for your call,
sure.
brother.
Thank you very much. And just a few minutes, just a few seconds.
Sure.
I just want to appreciate the job you are doing. I'm your follower. I always follow you, whether live or after. I always follow you, and you are doing a wonderful job.
Thank you.
Correcting spellings, teaching us English. Thank you very much for the job you are doing.
Thank you, brother. God bless. And I wish you all the best in that regard.
Thanks very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Great. So he was sorry for the signal dropped. My Wi-Fi somehow just disappeared on me. So please give me a call and tell me what you think. Yes, earlier I was talking about Scary Spice, and her other name was Mel B. And that was a very famous paternity case where, Eddie Murphy consistently denied that he was the father of Scary Spice's child. But ultimately, they did go for a DNA test, and the test came out and sort of revealed that Eddie Murphy was, in fact, the biological father of Mel B's daughter. And my observation has been that usually these cases, they're always ugly, by the time, because sometimes you have to compel someone. Sometimes people take court orders out to make sure that you go get tested. In our friends' countries, they're courts. They have courts called paternity courts that are specifically designed for this. Okay. All righty. All right. So guys, I wish I could be with you long. But I got to go. But thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And again, we can now receive phone calls on SML TV. I love that. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. God bless, guys. Have a great